Okay. Just 1 second. I will open. Give me a sec. I will go now to the types of researches. I will go now to the types of researches. What are the types of researches? We have fundamental or basic researches. Fundamental or basic applied researches. Fundamental research is mainly concerned with the generalization, with the formulation of a theory. Here you try to say that this is the fact which apply in a situation, you will apply it in the whole. So if you went to this example and see make a survey on people in one of the villages in the north of India, and you find that these people, one of them said, I don't like to eat spices. The other guy said, I don't like to eat spices. Other guy said, I don't like to eat spices. Then you will generalize. You will say, then this area or the people of this area, they don't like to eat spices. You will generalize in that case. This is fundamental or applied research. We have descriptive research and analytical research as well. Descriptive research includes survey and fact-finding inquiries of different kinds. Surveys. You want to know what are the new things to use this cell phone in? What are the suggestions of the clients? I asked Modrang, he told me, I wish the cell phone is including a bigger data memory. Or I wish that it can be like a laptop in my hand. Or I wish it can, so we know from these kinds what the client wants, the tendencies of the clients. For that reason, we make something called descriptive researches and analytical researches. Third, conceptual research and empirical. Empirical means experiments. We're doing with experiments once. We'll come now to a very important point, the difference between quantitative and qualitative researches. Quantitative from quantity, which depends on the formulas and depend on, as example, you measured or you surveyed or you give questionnaire to 10 persons. 7 of them told you they like to eat spicy. Then 70% of the sample eat spicy. Then maybe this will be in the whole population. The whole population of this village or this place will eat as long as you ate. You asked 7. They said they like to eat with spicy. Out of 10, that means that the majority likes it spicy. Then you will say these people here like spicy. The point is here, the quantitative, we use mathematical as example. We said 7 out of 10. That means 70%. But we use also statistical techniques like the mode and the median and the average to calculate these ratios. So quantitative means depends on the models and the math. Qualitative depends on the opinions, which is not like the objective. It's not objective. You remember when I told you in the previous semester, the objective and the subjective, this is what we are talking about right now. Look at this, the objective to explore and discover ideas used in the going process. But here, the numerical data to examine causes and effect relationship between the variables. These are points I just want to talk about here. Now I will move into another thing which is very important. What is the difference between the dependent and the independent variable? How do we know the dependent and the independent variables from each other? The dependent is the one who is affecting but not affected the independent. But the dependent is affected but not affecting. What are you saying? I will tell you. If we study the relationship between the temperature and the ice cream, who affect on the other? Temperature affect the ice cream. The temperature is independent. It's that strong, independent. It affects because when the temperature is high, the sales of the ice cream will go high. When the temperature is low, the sales of the ice cream will go low. For that reason, it's called the temperature is independent. But the sales of the ice cream is dependent because it depends on the temperature. You guys got me? You guys got me? This is simply the difference between the independent variable and dependent variable. All the researches include, any research include the dependent and the independent. In this example, which I said just now, the dependent is the headache. Because what affect on the headache? Those reasons are independent. Those are the one who cause the headache. You guys got me? So it might be might be that I'm tired, exhausted, went to the sun, like all these are independent. Because those cause the headache. The headache is dependent on those. The planning of the research and the research process. It's the steps here in front of you. I will take it one by one now. First step, identifying, evaluating, and formulating the research problem. And like I told you before, I'm repeating back. The problem of the research must be totally clear. Totally clear. I must track the reason. Like I told you just now, if I have headache and I took Panadol or paracetamol, I didn't solve the problem. I solved one symptom of the problem, but I didn't solve the problem itself. For that reason, I have to track the reason. So identifying the problem, it must be clearly defined. The problem must be clearly defined. Second, literature survey. Usually the literature survey is done to see from the past. As example, let me tell you something. Let us say one of the scientists is studying the cancer breast for the ladies, the breast cancer for the ladies. And he is up to check for a reason why, also to add one more reasons for the cancer breast which come to the ladies. In here, he must do literature survey, means that he must say what the others before him said about the cancer breast or the breast cancer. What scientists before him said. Then he will say the group of Aldo and Ricardo and John and Elton, they said one of the reasons for the breast cancer is blah, 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 blah. And there is another group of scientists who are Edward and Gournain and Gorendar and Moll. They said another reason for the breast cancer in the ladies is blah, 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 blah. and add to them another group of scientists, which this we call it literature survey, because he's adding to these people. So he must tell the reader who said said something before, and he must explain to the people that based on this now he will add something more. So here I'm here, he would say like this, I'm here to discover another reason for the breast cancer. Or I will add to this scientists a reason for the breast cancer. Or those scientists who preceded me, they forgot, or they didn't mention, or they didn't handle the point of blah, 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 blah. And I will handle this point in my research here. You guys saw what I say? So these are also, okay. Writing primary synopsis. Synopsis means shortcuts about the problem. After formulating the problem, a brief summary of it should be written down. A research worker has to write a synopsis of the topic selected for research work, mentoring the summary of what is going to be done under the research. Usually, this is done, guys, if we see a research paper, and I will show you a research papers, this is done in about 7 or 8 lines, and they are different in the font of writing. So if the font of writing the research is 14 Times New Roman 14, the style of writing, you do this 8 and bold. It's like around 8 or 9 lines summing up all the research. It's in the start itself or in the head of the research after the title. You go to something, it's called abstract. It's called abstract. I will show you complete researches, and we will work on it like this one. After this, identifying the labeling variables. We said we have independent variable and we have dependent variable. So the professor or the scientist who will study the reasons for the breast cancer, he will say the breast cancer is the dependent. And what is leading to the breast cancer? The causes or the independent? Huh? You guys got me? In any search, the problem under study deals with the relation between the variables. Look at this, the relation between the variables. Variables whose changes has affected the other variable. So we'll study here the independent and the dependent variables. It's called independent variables. Therefore, there is a cause and the effect relation between the variables. That's right. There is a relationship of cause and effect. Here we go. The hypothesis. The next one, setting the hypothesis. Specification of working hypothesis is a basic step to research process. A hypothesis is a tentative conclusion. Logically drawn. Logically means what? Like here, can I say that the headache caused too much walking in the sun? Can I say like this? Headache. Logically means what affect what? Can I say that the headache caused that I walk in the sun because I have headache, so I went and run in the sun? No. But the logically that I say, when I walk in the sun too much, I had headache. So the word logic here means cause and effect. Cause and effect. Okay. A research design is a plan that specifies the sources and the types of information relevant to the search problem. What I will do? Shall I go to books only and read from books and see? Or as a scientist and work in the breast cancer, I have to check some ladies and ask them about their history, the patient history, and record it and see. Maybe there is as example, stop breastfeeding the kids, the babies, before they are 2 years, maybe one of the reasons. So I asked her, did you stop breastfeeding your baby before 1 year? Or when did you stop breastfeeding your baby and you start to use the the other things, the other alternates from the market. Choose after 4 months, after 3 months, or whatever. Okay, so we see this, we put this in consideration, and he will study the relationships between the cancer breast or the breast cancer and the reasons which lead to a breast cancer. Determining the sample design, very important, guys, very important. Sample means what? In simple, sample means what? When you go to a big shops like in Dubai or here even, if you go to a big shops, you won't see Christian Dior as example perfume. Of course, you don't know how the smell looks like. You will buy the bottle like this, and you don't know what's inside it. So they put for you a sample, a small perfume, exactly like the same big bottle of perfume. Then he will give you to take in your back of your hand and smell, so that you won't say, "Hey, I took something." We call this sample. So sample is units drawn from, we don't say society, drawn from the population. Sample is units drawn from the population, and the sample should represent the characteristics of the population. By other meaning, if I'm studying small kids under 10 years old, their health and their fitness, all the study, the sample should be in this age, 10 years. And all the samples should be taken. If I'm studying a village X, the sample that I will take the children from village X. Okay. Can I take a kid or adult more than 10 years? No. Can I take from another village? No, because I'm studying the sample from this area. So it must be representing the characteristics of the population in this area. Am I clear, my dears? Clear for everyone? So this is the sample. One thing more I want to tell you before I leave the sample. Sample it must be the sample. It must be greater as much as the greater the sample, the more the characteristics of the sample will represent truly and with a confidence 100% the characteristics of the population. So as example, don't take two kids under age of 10 and you are studying their medical fitness and reasons for their medical fitness and say that this because they are drinking milk every day morning and that's it. Then you will apply what's in these two on the whole population, the whole village. No. The more the sample, the precise your results. Your results will be more precise when your sample will grow more. As designed is a definite plan determined before any data is actually collected for obtaining a sample from a given universe or population. Sample design refers to the technique or the procedures which the researcher would adopt in selecting some sampling units from universe for drawing inferences about the universe. The universe here is the population. Means the study, what you are studying. Okay. If I am studying the prescription, the pills in medicine, sample is some of these pills. Of course, I will not take all the pills and test it because if I do like this, once it's done, it's broken, done. So I will take sample, right? The population is the medicine which you are working on. The sum is what you took from it. The sample is what you took from it. The population is all the tablets which in the factory or the site. So it's logically, the more the sample, the better the results. It's very logic. Don't take one sample and say, one tablet and say that's it. No, it might be misleading or deceiving or there was problem in it. You have to take a large amount. Collective of data, collecting data. This start here, you will start to take the data and analyze it. But first, you will have to collect the data. About like what we said here, we collect the data to check out. I see my blood pressure, I see my blood sugar, I see the collecting data. But in the researches like this, which I'm talking about, you have to say who said yes and who said no, right? Or if you are studying the relationship, at example, between the smoking and the cancer and smokers. How many smokers you will see? I will see 100. Okay, then in that case, 100 smokers. How many of them, as example, had cancer from those smokers, and how many did not have cancer? How many are regular? So you have to study. I have here 70 smoker with cancer, and I have 30 smokers with non-cancer. Means that 70% of the sample of the smokers had cancer. Means that smoking can lead to cancer. I'm very simple saying it. You guys got me? Very simple. So you will use as example, you will use the mathematical means. Here I'm talking about the ratio. The ratio is the amount of the characteristics which you are studying divided by the total sample. There are also ways to determine the sample amount or how many units. Usually, the more they are in the social researches and the business researches, it's preferable to be around 300 unit of sample. 300 units. So if I'm studying here in the college, the performance of the students, I don't see 10 students or 5 students. That's not fair, because the college is including 2,000 students. The more I see, the better I am. There are formulas, and I will show it to you when we work in the upcoming lectures, and how to calculate the sample number, the adequate or the satisfactory sample number, which will be okay to represent the whole population or universe. You guys got me? Okay. So collecting the data, first you will collect the primary data. Primary means what? That we collect it for the first time. Secondary data means that we get it from the books. So primary, then observation method, direct personal interviews methods, telephone interview method. These are the ways to collect the data. Huh? These are the ways to collect the data. I might collect it by observation or direct interview, talk with you. A new medicine is in the market now. And I want to ask you guys, how is it working? Is it okay? Did you take this medicine? Are you okay with it? So I have to go in an interview with you to collect the data. Telephone interview methods, but the telephone is having too much drawback, guys. It's having too much drawbacks, and we've studied the drawbacks of the telephone because sometimes people don't take it seriously. Sometimes people don't take it seriously. Or people, you get the telephone, you don't know who's this, you don't answer. Or you seem ridiculous, or you don't know who's calling you. Questionnaire, everybody know the questionnaire, guys. You know the questionnaire, right? Questionnaire is whenever you go anywhere, you will find the questionnaire. If you are going in Uber, he will tell you rate the driver. If you go for a flight, like Air India as example, rate our work. They send many questions, and you have to answer these questions. This is called questionnaire. From question, the word questionnaire from question, as you see. Schedule methods, a choice of one or a choice of one of these methods. Execution of the project, then the processing, analysis, and interpretation of data, like I showed you here by using the statisticals. 70% said no. Okay, 70% said they don't drink milk in the morning. That means no relationship between the milk and between the medical fitness. You guys got me? So like this go. You analyze the data, and based on the data, you will take decisions regarding the sample. Then you apply what is in the sample in the whole population or on the whole universe. You guys got me? Clear? This is the testing the hypothesis. What we did here in this example. I test my blood pressure. I test my blood sugar. I asked myself, did I work yesterday too much or no? And so on. Preparation for the report of the thesis. Once you got, okay, there is one reason for the headache, that I woke too much in the sun and I slept just little bits. I'm very exhausted. That's why I have headache. Now I will write the report. After writing the report, select the formulation of research problem. Then request of the characteristics of a good research problem. Here is some details about, but what we finish in the recommendation. In the recommendation step, we see what we have to do to solve this problem. What we have to do to solve this problem. That is for the moment is more than enough for me in this part. So yeah. I think we'll be fine, Chris. I think we will be fine. I'll go for the attendance right now. So sorry guys for this problem because it's just I have a technical issue here right now. We have questions today. Discuss the research main steps, and what is the difference between independent and dependent variables? What is the difference between the independent and the dependent variables? So we have today two questions. These are discuss the research main steps and what is the difference between independent and dependent variable. Thank you. We'll work on these questions, please. Shall we work on these questions? Thank you so much.